Holosky podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Steven.
And Kyle.
And happy Monday, Holocult. It's the beginning of another fabulous week. We hope that this puts everybody in a well enough mood to fight your way through the wonderful work week that we all enjoy so much.
Yeah.
Kyle's put us together a banger today. I'm excited to get into it, but first we got to get to the business. First and foremost, 1 month away, October 6th, 7th, and 8th, that is the 40 and Airwaves Ultimate Podcast Conference full weekend event. If you want to go, pick up some tickets. It's live podcast panels, meet and greets, and a Sunday pancake breakfast. The full weekend event is $50, not counting your room and board. There will be a cash bar. There's special room rates available at the Linktree. It will be at the Inn at Ohio Northern University in Ada, Ohio. Come and hang out with us, the Uncomfortable Podcast, Cryptids of the Corn, the Boys at AI, Kill the Mockingbird, and the Bump Podcast. Should be a awesome time. We're just going to kick it. We're each going to do a little show. And then we're going to do some formal Q&A and a non-formal Q&A and hang out and just have a good time. We'll have merch for sale, all kinds of good stuff. So definitely check that out if you're interested in going. Check us out at all our social medias as well. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Search up the Holosky Podcast. We will be there. If you have a paranormal encounter you'd like for us to feature on a future show, Kyle's got some deeds.
You can write your story out, shoot it over to the email, which is going to be holoskypodcast@gmail.com. You can also request an interview. Please try to kind of give us a recap of your story in the email so we know what we're getting ourselves into. And then we will try to set something up. Most of the time for those interviews, we're probably going to try to run them on Saturdays when we can. And then as far as content creators go, the best one for us is probably going to be on Tuesdays when we do have the opportunity for that. You can also call or text the holophone, which is going to be 618-556-0837. And that is the same phone for the night shift, which is on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have anything that you'd like to send us, the P.O. Box is P.O. Box 145, Fielden, Illinois, 62031. We appreciate anything and everything. As you can tell, I still feel a little bit under the weather, but I'm getting my bearings back slightly. So,
yep. Kyle's been on the struggle bus, but
yeah, we're getting there.
He's making his way off. He's got this.
We're getting there. It is what it is.
Yeah. Send us weird shit to the P.O. Box.
Yeah.
Any haunted items, send it to us with a little bit of backstory. We can, dig into it a little bit. Just send it our way. Be a good time. How can you support the show? I know that's what you're thinking. Well, you can go to holoskypodcast.com and find something over there that you find interesting. You can buy shirts, stickers, all sorts of good stuff over there. We have a Patreon if you're interested in extra content. We probably got 55 or 60 extra shows over there. Some extra goodies, all kinds of stuff over there you can check out.
Yeah, as soon as I get to feeling better, I'm going to try to start hitting that
a
little bit harder.
We got some stuff coming down the line, so we're working on it. We got a Venmo if you'd like to throw some pocket change in our Venmo account for all of our bad habits. That is much appreciated. Best thing you can do is spread the show word of mouth, share it on social media. As we mentioned before, we're kind of hit a little plateau we're trying to break through, so the more everybody shares the show, the better off we are, the more listeners we can fall onto, and the bigger the Holocult gets, the more opportunity we have to put out more content for you all. You can go to wherever you listen to your podcast, your podcatcher that is, and leave us a wonderful 5-star rating and review. And when you do, I will hunt it down and find it and read it. That being said, Today's 5-star rating and review comes to us from our friend Midwest Nate. Midwest Nader says, 5 stars. Since we're on the topic of talking Sasquatch stories, some of the craziest stories I've ever heard is from Wes's show. I've listened to every episode he's put out over the years, and he always has some wild ones. Anyway, love the show, guys. Been listening since the beginning. Keep them up. Well, Nate, thanks for the kind words and the 5 stars. Definitely appreciate it. Yeah, shout out to Wes's show. He is the Sasquatch king as far as that goes.
Yeah.
He's got her on lock over there. Yeah. Tune into him and our homie Jeremiah, Bigfoot Society, if you got to fill that Sasquatch itch you've got in the back of your brain. From there, we're going to move on to our listener submission of the day. It is a follow-up to our full episode we released a couple weeks back, 37 Years of High Strangeness, with our friend Rachel. She has tuned back in to answer some of the questions we had. We're hoping to get a call from her either on the night shift or have her call in to do a little interview. We're kind of working out the kinks in that, but right now we're just going to share what she has sent in. Rachel says, "Hi, Steve and Kyle. First off, thank you so much for sharing my experience and your own thoughts and feelings about the experiences that I've shared so far. I'm humbled and still in a little shock for hearing my stories out loud, knowing they will actually reach around the world. That's so wild to think about. I'm going to do my best to call into the night shift if you get to the phones. I think the quickest thing to talk about would be my brother and what my brother and I saw running in the pasture. I thought I'd answer some of your questions before we figure out when to get together for an interview. Question number 1, we ask which side her great-grandmother was on. She says, my great-grandmother was on my mom's side. We also ask if her father took her prophetic dreams seriously. She says absolutely. He had totally accepted that one day he was going to die. Honestly, I wish I knew if he was having similar dreams or feelings. My parents were only in their mid-40s when he died. They had refinanced the house, made sure all the wills and life insurance were updated. The vehicle loans even had the term life insurance. I think that's what it's called. Was in place in the event that one of my parents died. The vehicles would be paid off months before he died. For whatever reason, he was slowly making sure we would all be okay if he passed. Financially, Mom was okay because of all the steps they had made long before the accident. Emotionally, we were all a wreck, and that would carry on for at least a decade for me. I'll go into that when I get into the demon house. I can say with absolute certainty that Daddy was not afraid of death. He was ready to go home whenever God called him. Question 3, my dreams. Boy, oh boy, strap in. Just in the last year, I've dreamed about 2 pregnancies that were confirmed within a week of me having the dreams. Back in 2018, I had a startlingly, there we go, got it, specific dream with a face and a name in my head. I've been dating someone who apparently had a wife and another girlfriend. We did not know about each other. He deserves an Oscar and a bodily injury for how he pulled off that stunt. We had gone home at Christmas and didn't take me with him, which was a red flag for sure. I'd spoken to him on the phone before going to bed and just didn't have a great feeling. Something was off. When I went to sleep, all I kept seeing in my dreams was the face of a beautiful brunette woman and hearing her first name. Nothing shown connected to him, just the face and name over and over. I immediately got on Facebook and went into detective mode. And there it was, this beautiful woman making comments on a family member's page and tagging their dogs in the pictures. Needless to say, it ended shortly after he came back. Months go by, and out of the blue, this woman reaches out to me. She had a feeling she needed to find me as well. She had ended up married to this scumbag and wanted me to know the other things that she had discovered. Weird how the universe tells you lies even when you think they're hidden. She texted me a couple months ago to let me know that the divorce was final. Good for her. The Watcher dreams are a little less stranger. I'll save those. Wow. The Watcher dreams are a little stranger. I'll save those. I think I want to hear your initial reactions to those firsthand. The demon house is also wild. I can type it up, but it might take a bit to get it all in order. So much happened over that year. Let me know if you want to read it before we talk about it and all get together. Looking forward to talking to you guys. This literally feels so strange, like I'm talking to celebrities. Your friend Rachel. Well, Rachel, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to respond to the questions we had. Second off, we are far from celebrities.
Yeah, very, very far.
You're just two blue-collar nerds that
That's right.
are trying to figure it out as we go. But I do appreciate you taking the time to answer some of the questions that we had. It did really seem like your dad knew what was coming before it got there.
Yeah.
Him taking all the time and the necessary steps to make sure that all of you were good, really kind of just solidifies that as far as taking care of his family, he was in the place that he needed to be whenever, death came knocking. And,
Which is it's just the job of a good father.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, don't get me wrong. He may have had an inkling as to what was coming or something to that effect. But if you strip all of that away, that's just him being the best version of a father possible.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's
what you're supposed to do.
That's a father's number one goal, is to make sure everybody's okay. Like even because it's so fucking weird, because I think the exact same way in that context of wanting to make sure that if anything were to happen to me, I know that the rest of my family is going to be good. Yeah. To a degree, obviously. But I don't know, like it makes you have that much more respect for the man, and I didn't even know the man, but it makes you have a lot of respect for him that he took those extra steps.
Yep. Shout out to Dad for being a dope dad.
Absolutely.
And your prophetic dreams, that's crazy that you caught old boy via dream, and then everything came.
It is weird.
Fell right into place. But good on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good on you.
The dude seemed like a fucking turd.
But we will have to set up a time to get you on the phone so we can talk about the Watcher dreams. I'm really invested into that.
I want to do an interview for sure.
Yeah. So we'll probably hit you with an email, see if we can get our times together. But again, thanks for taking the time to put out your initial story and following up with this one. It's cool to kind of put a little bit more backstory into the experiences. And feel free to call into the night shift too, but we definitely want to set up an interview, because the night shift, you kind of want to keep it shorter so everybody can get their calls in and stuff. And I feel like we're gonna need some insight on some of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, again, if you want to have an experience that you would like to share, Kyle's went through it. Check it out at the beginning of the show. From here, Kyle's got this info we are getting ready to bounce into.
It's a weird one.
I am ready.
It's a weird one. Before I get into that, though, I do want to make a rather quick announcement I forgot to bring up earlier. I believe it should be locked in. I'm not 100% sure because she hasn't responded yet, but...
So we're putting her on the spot.
Yeah, I believe that on the 20th, the night shift on the 20th of this month, Avery from Chiller Queen Podcast is going to be joining us. So if you're a big fan of Avery, make sure you tune in for the night shift, because she will be joining us. And I believe she's going to be talking about her meeting Mr. Bledsoe.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
So that'll be a good conversation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we'll open phone lines. And that's the other thing that I wanted to point out, too, as far as the phone lines go. You don't, like Jeremiah was on Bigfoot Guy, you don't need to have just Bigfoot stories. Call in with everything. I would love, especially in Jeremiah's case, it would be awesome to see his reaction to things way outside his knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it would be interesting. But I wanted to throw that out there, try to promote it, and I think it's going to be a good time. But, as Steve stated, off to the races. So, I don't even remember how I stumbled onto this, but I found a cloning center story. And it touches on a lot of different aspects that me and Steve have talked about before, which is going to be interesting to get into. I would also like to hear what a lot of the listeners think about this. But the dude that I found, his name's Donald Marshall. And obviously he's a whistleblower that came forward and was trying to expose cloning centers. apparently Donald had been in these cloning centers affiliated with them since about the age of 5 years old. And I'm not sure if I get into it later, but he was actually brought in by his parents to be cloned as what he refers to diddle kid.
Gross.
Yeah. So there's that, which is terrible. But something ironic here, Donald went through what is known as the awakening. That's when your suppressed memories of these experiments manifest into your brain. This happens when you turn, drum roll, 30, which is almost the exact same amount of time with the super soldier programs.
Yep. I was just going to say that. That is the same thing that, damn, what is his name?
I'm having a brain fart too.
Yeah, I can't.
Because there's another Max Spears.
Yeah, same thing Max Spears was talking
There's
about.
another reference with him later on too that I want you to catch. But according to Donald, there is two separate types of cloning. There is a replication cloning, which is simply replicating a person. It's born as a baby and is essentially the exact same person. He almost makes it sound like it's like this full pregnancy process as well. Then there is duplication cloning, where they grow you in a tank. There is also a few different grades of cloning. And I believe it's called Merc 1 through 4. Merc 1 cloning has been around apparently since World War II. Apparently they had a lot of problems with the Merc 1 clones. These clones were known as the organic robotoid. So wrap your brains around that one. Which kind of reminds me of the story you once told me, Steve, and I'm probably going to butcher this, of the robot being that got hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
That's what pops in my head when I read that.
Yeah, I was just looking at that somewhere in here.
Then there is Merc 2, and I'm not 100% sure how this shit works, but it's an REM-driven clone. This type of clone is used by the Illuminati, apparently. So when you go to sleep, they can... I'm assuming it has to do with whenever we sleep, and there's that possibility of astral projection. Apparently, they can capitalize on the situation and transfer your consciousness into a clone while you're sleeping. They used to achieve this by...
terrifying.
Yeah. And they used to achieve getting clones of you by collecting samples of you in one way or another. In some cases, they would use cells from a woman's pap smear or the discarded foreskin of a child, which apparently is how they obtained Donald's DNA and were able to make a clone of him.
See, Spears went hard into this project called Oak Tree. And when I was researching it, Project Oak Tree was so hard to find any information on because they went back and mask project other projects with the same name that have nothing to do with it, have to do with like school board shit and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But the Project Oak Tree that he was talking about, from what I gathered, was a campaign in the 50s through the 70s that would pick out very, very specific women as surrogates. They had to have a specific womb structure and all of this weird shit to house these embryos.
That's weird.
Or could essentially be a clone that they would put back out to the super soldier program.
That's so weird. I would love to get into that. Another way they were able to obtain tissue, as described by Donald, is what he says. They would take this device that essentially looks like an oil drill. They would place it on your forearm. Then this device would then drill into your skin, and the bit would spin with these little teeth that would open up and then close again when the bit stopped.
That sounds horrible.
I know. They explained to Donald that they needed to do this to agitate the skin in order to obtain a better sample. However, as they progressed with this type of technology, they were apparently able to gather everything they needed from a simple blood sample. Donald claims a lot of the world's leaders attend these cloning centers and that it's highly used by the elites of the world. Not only that, but I mean, in elites in every form of the word, you know, celebrities, politicians, world leaders, all of them apparently attend these cloning facilities. And it's done so in a way to partake in nefarious things. It's essentially an Epstein Island on crack. Because not only do you get to do all that stuff, but he talks about almost like gladiator events, hostile style events.
Which you hear about shit like that way spoken under everybody's breath.
Right.
Like you hear about all of the sexual misconduct quite a lot, but it's this like that in itself is horrific. I'm not playing that off at all, but it's this like this murder shit that they're doing. Like you hear that the elites will go out and go on human hunts and shit, like in the wilds of Alaska and shit like that.
Yep.
Put on these gladiators, like kind of battle royale, fight to the death kind of bullshit.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, if you really think about it, whichever way you go, right, one of those is almost inevitably going to lead to the next one of those, right? Because the first one, we'll say the sexual stuff is first. After a while, that's most likely going to lose its appeal. It's going to be a repetitive thing, right? Like, oh, this isn't fun anymore, yada yada yada. And then you're gonna start pushing the envelope again, because that's the society that you're in, and that's people in general, right? Like you do something like skydiving so repetitively that it almost loses its whatever to it, you know?
Thrill factor.
Yeah, there you go. And I just feel like it's highly plausible that one leads 100%. To the other one, hands down.
And you probably have different factions. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. You probably have the ones that are solely focusing on sexual desires. You know, you got like your weirdo lust camp of the elites over here. Then you probably have the other ones that are like the fucking wrath camp over here that just want to see murder and destruction.
Yeah.
Which
is terrifying.
Stop putting these people in power.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then there's the other aspect to it, right? Like, because I'm not trying to discredit Donald's story by any means, but if that's the case, and maybe it's just that my brain can't wrap around all of it quite yet, to a degree, outside of other than some of the other things that Donald will later get into here, but to a degree, why? I guess I can self-answer to this, but you would think if they had the ability to clone whomever they wanted to, and let's pretend they were being little fuckwads and breaking into hospitals and collecting DNA samples to create different types of clones. We'll just run with that. And they were using those clones as sex slaves, torture slaves, whatever. You would think that would now, for the most part, minimize human trafficking and those types of things, right? because you know what would happen. People would argue that they're just clones. They're nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like that's where it's almost as if it's kind of like what we were talking about on the night shift that will come out tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
oddly enough, it is kind of in the same vein.
Piggyback off of that, but going backwards. It's almost as if this cloning ability was put into place to maybe try to lull that away. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, okay, well, if we can make clones essentially, then we're not taking away from the real human population. But I think you get into that gray area that we were talking about, like what makes a human a human? Apparently, them using the clones wasn't human enough.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of what that's where my brain goes, is that it loses its wow factor for them.
Yeah, does a clone show fear? Does a clone show pain?
Bingo.
Does a clone, because I feel like that's a big part of what drives these type of like socialite fucking psychopaths.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're and it's got to be like a power play. It's beyond a sexual need. It's like they feed off of this.
Yeah.
This fear and this hurt, and that's why I think like when it comes to a clone, it's just like it'd be like a sex doll, you would think.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. That's kind of where my brain was going too. And then it like you could sit here and try to argue that using that type of technology would quell these masses. I feel like it would just feed them and empower them, because it would get them almost acclimated to it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, now I'm ready for the real thing.
Yeah.
Like I've got to push the envelope. I've got to experience this.
Yeah.
And it's fucking terrifying.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But back to Donald here. He absolutely despised these cloning centers because of everything that was going on at the places. Donald witnessed people who would go through the awakening process. So naturally he wanted the same thing so he could confess it to the cops and have everyone at these facilities arrested. But as he found out later that they were in on it too. Like, I guess the reach of these organizations was vast. Donald would go on, and the interview is very sporadic. A lot of the information I find is very sporadic, so it does kind of go up and down, up and down. And like when I was watching the interview with Donald, it was like his brain is everywhere. Like it's almost like he's just trying to get out as much information as he possibly can while his brain's firing on it. So it does get real sporadic. But he goes on to explain how Britney Spears made a video about this place. Essentially what Britney had to end up doing was selling her DNA and the rights to it to a cloning center. It was a classic deal with the devil, so to speak. Apparently she did it almost willingly because in return, she was going to be famous and have virtually everything she ever wanted. So this could be a version of the deal with the devil that we hear a lot in the music industry.
And I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself with her.
Yeah.
Like we were talking earlier, we could do a whole deep dive on Britney Spears, but the thing that almost leads credence to the fact that maybe some of what this guy is saying is true is look at how off the rails Britney has went. It's almost like it was a campaign to propose her her psychosis. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So now if she were to come out and say this, people would immediately question her and discredit her.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
And not to mention the story in itself is far-fetched as all hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, most people are going to be like, yeah, okay, you're nuts. But as you can, I mean, what they would end up doing with her clones, you know what happened. Like I said before, Donald was cloned and used as a slave himself for years and years. He claims that one reason many of these people don't come forward is because of the transferring of consciousness aspect to it. So what they'll end up doing is torturing you. It could be all types of torture as well. Sexual, physical, mental, all of the above. Because essentially they have an unlimited supply of you to do this.
Oh, yeah.
So when you really think about that, it's like being in hell, experiencing torture over and over and over and over and over. Because once this clone body would start to break down, they would transfer your consciousness
And then they still
into another one.
can feed off the fear and the pain.
Exactly.
hurt, and the terror just consistently, which is horrid.
He said one of the forms of torture they would use on the clones is they would send a constant electronic current into your clone until it essentially would give you an aneurysm.
Jesus.
And he said, and this is his words, he said this is exactly how they killed Bernie Mac. That Bernie Mac was trying to come out about these facilities, and that's how they got him.
That's crazy.
And that these odd heart attack aneurysms was happening so much in the celebrity world that they almost wanted to get away from it because it's becoming so relevant.
Yes, like regular almost.
He says, and I heard the fucking audio and videos. Tila Tequila started coming out about these places and mentions Donald by name and everything they did to him, because he claims that in these facilities he actually met up with Tila Tequila. And if you watch some of these videos on her, she kind of starts to go off the rails too, talking about the Illuminati, Freemasons, cloning centers.
I completely forgot about her, man.
Exactly. She disappeared.
It's so fucking crazy.
When asked about the facilities and where they're located, Donald names Dulce as one of these bases, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And the possibility of cloning facilities inside Dulce.
Yep. That's exactly what, man, I can't remember which episode it was, but they said they were creating grays with biological matter.
Oh, you're going to love it here
over
in a little
top
bit.
of robotics.
Yeah. So, but he claims that a lot of these facilities are within these DUMBs, these deep underground military bases. Donald also throws out a claim, and I don't know much about it. Steve, you might know a little more. He claims that the whole shebang around a man named Robert Picton. You know that name?
Oh, is he a serial killer?
He is a serial killer.
Yeah.
He was known as the pig farm killer.
Yep.
Or the butcher.
Yep.
He had 27 counts of murder.
I can tell you
against him
here in just a second. 6 convicted, 26 charged, 49 confessed.
Yeah. But apparently these people at the cloning facilities had a part in that man and everything he was doing to people.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah. Like that's a random, in my opinion, that's a random fucking name to pull out of the hat.
Yeah.
What year was that relevant? You know?
He was caught in 2002.
2002. I don't really remember when the interview was of Donald talking about this. So it might be a little more relevant than I anticipate, but I'm not sure.
It'd say he popped out in 2011 was when
Donald
started talking.
Okay. Because I do remember in the video he references 2012 as well. So I'm not sure the context of it.
If anybody is interested in Picton, his name is Robert. According to Wikipedia, his name is Robert William Willie Picton, born October 24th, 1949, also known as the pig farmer killer or the butcher. He's a Canadian serial killer, serial rapist, and former pig farmer and possible cannibal who is suspected of being one of the most prolific serial killers in Canadian history. After dropping out of school, Picton left a butcher's apprenticeship to begin working full-time at his family's pig farm. He's believed to begun his murders in the early 1980s after inheriting the farm. Arrested in 2002, he was convicted in 2007 of second-degree murder of 6 women. Was also the subject of a lengthy investigation that yielded evidence of numerous other murders. He was charged with the deaths of an additional 20 women, many of them from Vancouver's downtown east side. But these charges were stayed by the Crown in 2010. Picton was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years, the longest possible sentence for second-degree murder under Canadian law. During the trial's first day of evidence, the Crown stated that Picton had confessed to 49 murders to an undercover agent at the office of the Inspector General, who was posing as a cellmate. The Crown reported that Picton told the officer that he wanted to kill another woman to make it an even 50, and that he was caught because he got sloppy.
I don't know, man. And I wish during the interview, Donald would have went on like more detail as to how the cloning facilities were connected with him. But I'm not gonna rule it out at all, because if it has anything to do with MK Ultra style shit.
Bro, we also heard whenever we were looking, what were we looking into? When they said that the human cloning facility, one of them was in Canada. Do you remember that?
Charlie told us that.
Yeah.
Charlie told us that. That's fucking weird.
That is.
I didn't put that together. Yeah, that's weird.
What? Oh,
that's weird, dude. Super weird. When I was watching this interview, Donald talks about a Megadeth album cover that apparently he or his clone is on. And there's a kid on it who looks all cut up with a skeleton coming out of his chest. And even the host is like, oh shit, that looks exactly like you. So it was just fucking really weird. And we circle back around here. We circle back around to Britney Spears. And like I said, the interview just kind of bounces all around. But he talks about how Britney Spears started to come out about these cloning stations. And she created this like anime style video about her blowing up one. And I ended up finding it, and me and Steve just watched it. But the song was called Break the Ice. And the video is fucking bizarre. It essentially is her crashing the party of a bunch of elites and then blowing up a fucking cloning facility.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with the lyrics of the song.
No, I mean, you could loosely argue around it, but for the most part, no. Not even close. So how the concept is crafted at that point is fucking beyond me. Here's a walk down memory lane. Donald also brings up our friend Chris Benoit and how he was part of the cloning facilities, and they had been torturing him so much that's what led him to his fucking actual break. And Donald also makes a claim that there's an ICP song about Chris Benoit, and that Donald was actually the one that wrote the song.
What?
Yes, sir.
Twiz, we need confirmation.
Yeah, no doubt, because I have no idea.
Twiz is our resident juggalo in the Discord.
And then Donald starts to bring up how there is an aspect where the reptilians start to play a role in this type of shit. And he says that the reptilians have been around for a very, very, very long time, and that there are several types of reptilians. There's 3 separate types, essentially. I'm not sure about the middle one, but I know that there's one that's like 1.5 feet tall. And then I know there's one that's about 8 feet tall, which we've heard about. We've heard about the big ones.
Yeah.
But they apparently come deep underground where there's more of like a methane air mixture, apparently. The Nazis were in touch with them, and that's why they had the Vril Society, which ties a lot of this shit together. But the type 1 and 2 reptilians, and I have seen suggestions about this before, prior to this, but they say that there's a Vril parasite. This parasite will enter through someone's eye. And ironically enough, if you search politicians, celebrities, world leaders with black eyes, there are a lot of people with black eyes. It's fucking really weird.
And a lot of times they're covering their eyes.
Yeah.
In press shoots.
Yep. Apparently that has something to do with the parasite. It enters in through your eye. It goes to your brain and does its thing. So what happens is, like I said, the parasite enters the human host into the eye. As the parasite goes through your eye, it gets into your brain, and then it begins to change. And essentially, the parasite is almost like a hard drive for the lizard. Because at that point, once the parasite changes, it does its thing, it transfers the consciousness from the lizard to the human host. And that consciousness now 100% controls the human host. The consciousness of the human is now gone. It's obsolete. It's over with. So that brings forth the question of the shapeshifters. It might not actually be shapeshifters. It is like legit parasitic invasion, body snatcher style shit.
What? I'm not trying to go off the rails here, but I am searching up our guy here, and this dude has like released an entire fucking memoir on everybody that he has information on. From
I didn't
Prince
find that. I did see a long list of celebrities that he says are affiliated with this shit.
He goes hard on Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to go into that?
No, but I know that he does.
Okay.
Because during the interview, he brings it up a lot, but there wasn't a shitload of, like, meat to it.
Because I was looking up how Picton was tied in, and it circles back around to Queen Elizabeth. But it said Queen Elizabeth II as an REM-driven clone used MK Ultra mind control technology on me when I was activated as an REM-driven clone at the cloning center in the past. She made me run around the cloning center saying and doing horrible things under the MK Ultra technology, which she, as a REM-driven clone, operated. Queen Elizabeth II as an REM-driven clone version of herself made me say and do horrible things when I was unwillingly activated. But when Queen Elizabeth II does not like someone, she has that person grown as a duplicate clone. 5 months later, she will torture that person as a driven clone until that person has a heart attack or an aneurysm and their original body dies in real life. Furthermore, Queen Elizabeth II had a role in the Robert Pickton murders. Queen Elizabeth II hates prostitutes. I do not know why, and it is ironic because Queen Elizabeth II is more piggish and vulgar than any prostitute I've met on the planet. Just Queen Elizabeth II's role in the Robert Pickton murders alone should have her hung. Queen Elizabeth II and the Canadian government were trying to lower the amount of prostitutes on the Canadian streets. Therefore, Queen Elizabeth and her Illuminati members had a man named Robert Pickton start killing these women and feeding the women to pigs on Pickton's pig farm. Queen Elizabeth and other Illuminati members made sure each woman who died at the hands of Pickton had a video recorded. Queen Elizabeth then watched the Pickton murders from the cloning center. She also forced many people, including me, to watch the Pickton murders on video as well. She loves watching the Pickton murders and says she has a macabre fascination with death.
I think that's... Who was that? It might have been Donald's reference to Brittany, and that's how she snapped, was that they were making her watch so many murder videos that her brain finally just broke.
It's everyone. Megadeth is in here, like you were talking about. Michelle Obama, Mila Kunis.
Oh, dude, there's so many fucking people. I saw the long list.
Justin Timberlake attends the cloning centers as a driven clone version of himself when he goes to sleep through the process of consciousness transfer from his original body to his duplicate REM driven clone. Justin has performed many songs I have made. He has performed many songs I have made as an REM-driven clone of myself from the cloning center through the process of consciousness transfer from my original body to the REM-driven clone. The song I'm Lovin' It, which Justin sings, is also used as a slogan by McDonald's, derives from the fact that the owners of McDonald's also attend these cloning centers. Consequently, that doesn't go anywhere. But it's just like everybody's in here. Kanye, Bieber, George Lucas, Hillary Clinton, Princess Diana.
It's weird, dude.
So they essentially have clones of these people, and they transfer their consciousness. I guess they're forever at the cloning center, and they transfer their consciousness to their cloning center bodies. Like, what in the fuck?
It's fucked up.
Chris Brown, David Letterman. Look at that. Britney Spears killing another version of Britney Spears, killing her clone.
It's super weird.
We're going to have to do a Britney Spears episode all on our own.
It's weird. It's a lot to wrap your mind around. Yeah, there's the video.
I'll have to send this to you. There's so much. So much. Excuse me.
It's bizarre, man.
Oh God, there's Nickelback.
Really?
No.
Oh, that's not surprising at all.
I was forced to be when I was unwillingly activated as an REM-driven clone at the cloning center, I was forced by the Illuminati to make all of the Nickelback songs, which the band later had to perform, except for Nickelback's latest song, which has just been released, called This Means War on Roadrunner Records 2012. The Illuminati showed me the video for Nickelback's self-made song, This Made War, at the cloning center when I was unwillingly activated by the Illuminati members. They told me that the intent of the song represents how angry the Illuminati are with me in regards to disclosing their REM-driven cloning subculture. It's so fucking weird. I actually named the band Nickelback, they said.
It's nuts.
It's the entire interview.
It's nuts, dude. Here's something you're going to like, though. Donald says that a lot of alien abductions are done by these creeps from the cloning stations.
So did our friend Max.
Check it out. They have a full Hollywood setup and will then place a clone on the slab inside the ship, and then activate the clone. Someone will be inside the ship with a mask on that appears like a gray alien. The mask itself is made from chicken skin and dyed gray. Apparently, the government and celebrities take part in this, which all reverts back to sex and torture. But it has to, for like you said, it has to play on fear and emotion and all that shit. And then from there he jumps back to lizards again and says that this is kind of fucking interesting if you guys really think about it. But he says they can talk, which we have heard, but they don't. I'm assuming they use more of like a telepathy because these lizards don't have like a normal tongue like we would think. They have what apparently they refer to as a blood spike. Okay. Which is the exact same method our friend the chupacabra uses. According to Dan, it's actually like the victims from chupacabra are actually the reptilians, right? Because the reptilians have the ability to come up through all over the planet, claim victims, go back down. So check this out. This is where I kind of go, huh. Another thing that these reptilians, these lizards will do is when they're out and about, they see, we'll just say like ancient tablets with depictions of reptilians on them, or literature with reptilians in it. They destroy it.
What if they listen to podcasts that talk about reptilians?
Well, check this out.
Let's go. They can get it too.
Use your brain for this here, because this is pretty fucking, it makes sense to me, right? So you have these, they're actively covering up themselves, right? Well, what are the original depictions of chupacabra?
I was just gonna say it, bro. Small fucking lizard person.
And then what did it transform into?
Yeah, a fucking rabid mutt.
Fucking kind of
Covering
weird,
itself
man.
up. I was already gonna go there. I'm like, it's already done it.
Yeah.
We questioned it when we talked about the chupacabra. Like,
Yeah.
well, how these are two different beings? Well, maybe not. I didn't even think about a smear campaign.
Me either.
Make people not think that it's a fucking reptilian.
Dude, it makes so much fucking sense.
Like, how did
So
people just accept that? Like, how did we,
I don't know,
as members of the paranormal world, go from the chupacabra is this upright walking iguana type fucking
and you
thing.
had a ton of those reports.
Yes, and then it just goes.
No, it's not. It's a fucking dog.
It's clearly a coyote with mange. How?
Bro.
How
That's where I'm at.
did those two
That's exactly where I'm at.
how did those two cross paths and become the same thing?
Bro, that's 100% where I'm at. When he said that, I'm like, because he didn't even specifically come out and say what I just said, but my brain went the exact same route. I'm like, wait a minute. That makes total fucking sense. Because we went from the original upright humanoid lizard being to a fucking canine.
Yeah.
It's
Just-
straight up smear campaign.
Yeah, if we looked hard enough, we could probably find the point that it swapped.
Oh, I guarantee it. Guarantee it. And then to kind of top it off here, another ability that the elites have, which is fucking terrifying. So there's a reference that you'll hear Donald use once in a while called chip heads. And apparently they have perfected the technology throughout the years. It used to be much larger. Now it's about the size of, he said it's a little bit bigger than an apple seed. but it's a chip, and they can put it into you and transfer someone's consciousness into you that way. So almost like what the Vril do with their parasite, we invented our own version of that, where they can download their consciousness to this chip and go, well, you know what? I'm tired of looking like Brad Pitt today. I want to look like The Rock. And so they'll take that little device and they implant it into The Rock. And now your consciousness gets transferred into The Rock. That's terrifying.
So weird, man.
Because that would be essentially immortality perfected to where you could almost never catch them.
It's like quantum immortality.
Yeah.
Your consciousness survives forever.
And you can implant it within
wherever you want,
whatever host that you want.
And essentially into your same body forever.
Yeah, if you wanted to with clones, yeah. But if you didn't want to be discovered, you could jump bodies all the time.
Yeah. This says, back to the Queen Elizabeth thing. That's got my mind fucking tracking now. Apparently, she owns a cloning center in Canada. I found another thing here.
That's
on
fucking
Tumblr.
bizarre.
About the above-ground cloning center in Canada that Queen Elizabeth has owned. This is from 2017. Donald Marshall says it's in the middle of a forested area. I've been outside it a few times when there was a clone and there's no sign of civilization. It must be a wildlife preserve or something. Western Canada. Vending machines take Canadian change. The murders were videotaped and delivered by car to the cloning center. It's about within a 5 to 6 hour drive radius from the Picton farm. The interviewer says, Donald, have you ever heard of Thirsty Lake in British Columbia? I'm trying to figure out if I should use some power to investigate if we found this facility at Thirsty Lake. Donald says it could very well be Thirsty Lake. It's 6 hour drive from the Picton farm and could be the place. Is Thirsty Lake private property like a military zone or a wildlife preserve? Checking it on our Google Maps. I'll look into Thirsty Lake now. Watch the weather out there if it gets extreme. Yada, yada, yada. He comes back and finds out that it is Crown land owned by the Queen.
Fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, he goes, Crown land. The arena won't be on Google Earth. I bet they blotted it out.
Bro, that is fucking weird. It's weird, dude. And that's what I mean. Like, you listen to him talk and stuff, and it's not ultra far-fetched.
Donald Marshall, Wednesday, May 30th, 2012. Would you like to know the secret initiation you must do before acceptance into the Skull and Bones? Okay, here it is, but it's not what you might be thinking. He says, okay, if you want to be in, they test your loyalty, your greed, and even give you sodium pentanol and GHB, which is a date rape drug. Near same as sodium pentanol, the truth serum, due to the high concentration of salt. Once you're cleared, they bring you into a special room, very private. They talk of brotherhood. If you refuse, now your life will be degraded. They will do whatever they can to ruin you. So they talk brotherly love, and as proof of your loyalty, they say you're about to meet the leadership. And from the back of the room come all the old men in robes, brushes too. It's very satanic based. Then the old men tell them to disrobe. They say some nonsense about brotherhood again and brotherly love. Women are inferior in a man's world, is what they say. Then they tell them if they have any reservation about it, leave now. Knowing the secrets could spell your doom if you back out after the initiates agree. The benefits are vast, and all the old men. Oh wow, never mind. We will cut that stuff out.
I'm sure it gets a little X-rated.
Yeah. A bunch of old men doing exactly what you think I'm going to say here. Yeah.
Not where I'm trying to be.
No, but I mean, I guess that's how you get into
No thanks.
Skull and Bones.
No thanks. Count me out. Sorry.
Oh, this is a rabbit hole, bro. Holy shit.
It's nuts, man, and it's terrifying to sit and think that could actually be a possibility
Yeah.
that clones have taken place, which I would almost guarantee.
Yeah.
But that
you think they stopped with the sheep?
no, come on. But it's terrifying to think that out of boredom and whatever else, the elites have found joy in cloning and creating this. I don't know what you would want to call it. But just like this circus of insanity and evil.
It's like a human farm.
Bro, it is fucking terrifying.
And now, like we talk about on the episode of the night shift that's dropping tomorrow, they don't even have to have a sperm or an egg to create a human embryo now.
No.
To clone, I guess it would be a clone a human embryo now.
They could essentially just get whatever part of DNA from you and run.
Yeah. That shit's wild, bro.
It's a nutty story, dude. Nutty fucking story. And it
sounds so far-fetched. Like,
it does,
especially
to a degree.
When he comes out and he's talking about, like, oh, I wrote all the Nickelback songs. I did this. I wrote this. I did that. But then you get these little nuggets placed in there where you're like, hold up.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Hold up. This part makes a little bit of sense.
Yep. He says that the cloning facilities will do it with whistleblowers and shit, too. They'll create whistleblowers to come out and tell the half truth, and that way the public gets kind of satisfied with the answer, and then they just let it go, you know. All types of crazy stuff, dude. And then it's
wild.
Like that. I feel like that, like with all the information that he's put out there, I feel like it'd be a lifetime of making shit up.
Oh yeah, you'd have to go ham on it. Have to go way, way down the rabbit hole there.
Oh man, like just coming up with the details on the Queen Elizabeth with owning property in Canada, owning the cloning facility, and like that's wild.
Yep,
absolutely wild.
Yep.
But I don't know. That's about all I got for you tonight.
Especially like if the dude's leaving these little breadcrumbs and they lead to. Like, he's like, hey, there is a queen cloning facility, like, I don't know, 5 to 6 hours from Coquitlam where Picton's farm was. And then they're like, oh, yeah, well, what about this place that's 5 or 6 hours? He's like, yeah, probably, but I bet it's privately owned. What is it? Oh, Crown Land. Weird. Like,
And then, like you said, Charlie told us about the cloning facility in Canada.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird. That was a good one. That was a banger.
It's definitely fucking strange.
Let us know what you think, Holocult. Chime in on the socials. Chime in the Discord. Be sure to share the show to all your conspiracy weirdo friends. That was a good one. I dug that. So, until next time, check us out at all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Be sure to share the show with all of your weird friends. Stay safe, stay weird, and if you see Britney Spears blowing up a cloning facility, maybe give her a hand because she's probably doing the right thing.